What's up, everybody? The PS5 Pro was announced earlier this week, and I'm finally taking time to, react to the full presentation, try to see, how Mark Kearney and them are trying to justify this pricing, because obviously I've heard about it in terms of the price. I've seen some of the memes, and even my own community, my Discord has, expressed their thoughts and feelings on this. And yeah, I'm gonna give my full opinion after checking out. I may say some things here while I'm checking out to see if anything is worth them charging as much, but I highly doubt it personally. And I've seen what's been going on Twitter about as well too, with all the pushback against this as well too. But yeah, so let's dive in before I get into the nitty-gritty of things and talking about both sides of this and things like that.
Hi, I'm Mark Cerny. I'm excited to be here to talk about the newest addition to our console lineup, PlayStation 5 Pro, and how it advances gaming technology. But first, I want to take just a minute to look at what we put in the original PlayStation 5 and how it delivers an exceptional gaming experience. When PS5 debuted in 2020, it brought a lot to the table. 8 Zen 2 CPU cores form the brains of PlayStation 5 and enable high-speed complex gameplay, with character counts reaching into the hundreds and frame rates that can be as high as 120 frames a second. PS5 has a powerful RDNA 2 GPU, which can render anything from intricate details to fantastic worlds with vast panoramas to explore. Ray tracing allows for dramatic visual improvements, including reflections off of water or glass, and the realism that comes from real-time global illumination. A custom SSD can load data at breathtaking speed, resulting in ultra-fast transitions between game worlds and data streaming rates so high that traversal speeds are essentially unlimited.
Okay? I'm working on it.
So far I'm noticing, I know we're talking about the PS4 here, or base PS5, not PS4, sorry. They're showing a lot of older games that this base has been out for the past 4 years.
Tempest 3D audio tech brings an unparalleled sense of immersion to the sound of the games. With audio so real, you may not even need to see the enemies to know exactly where they are. Finally, the DualSense controller has haptics that let you feel through your hands what your character is experiencing inside of the game. It's wonderful to see such variety and richness of game experiences. Creators have made amazing use of the hardware capabilities, but when I talk to them, I do hear about their desire for more graphics performance. The dreams of the developers are bigger than can be supported at 60 frames per second, and that leads to an aspect of modern gaming that we're all familiar with: graphics modes. It can be a difficult choice for players.
So they're adding a permanent fidelity
typically through higher resolution rendering. These modes might also have enhanced detail or use more ray tracing. But the games only run at 30 frames per second. The visuals can be choppier and the controls less responsive. Performance modes emphasize frame rate and interactivity, typically choosing to run at 60 frames per second, mainly by reducing the graphical detail.
Dude. What? This? I have thoughts. I have some criticisms, but
Until those frame rates can be achieved. When asked to decide on a mode, players are choosing performance about 3/4 of the time.
wow.
Decision, or at least
3/4?
that divide, is one of the key targets for PlayStation 5 Pro. We want to give players
That's
the
an
graphics
interesting
that game
stat.
creators aspire to, at the high frame rates that players typically prefer. To do that, PS5 Pro substantially improves over PlayStation 5 in 3 ways. Here's what we call the Big 3. First,
Large
we
GPU,
made the GPU much
the
larger
Big 3.
and increased the speed of the memory it uses. The
Yeah, I heard
result
about
is
this.
rendering that's up to 45% faster. Second, we made major upgrades to the ray tracing taking a streamlined and accelerated approach that allows calculation of the rays at double or even triple the speeds of PlayStation 5. And finally, we added custom hardware for machine learning and an AI library called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution.
So I'm curious about this. Is this specific to PlayStation when it comes to this AI-driven upscaling?
Images pixel by pixel, and can add an
like this type of technology they're using, their version of it at least is exclusive to them. No one else is using it.
Creators are adding PS5 Pro support to new and existing titles, and with the big three involved, the results can be pretty amazing. With graphics showing something like fidelity levels of detail, but at double the frame rate. Here's The Last of Us Part 2 running on PS5.
Wait, why are you showing
It has
this?
Huge amounts of detail and targets a super smooth 60 frames per second. Let's compare this to the fidelity mode on PS5, which is only running at 30 frames per second and is therefore much choppier. This goal of delivering almost fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rates has been achieved for a broad set of titles, including Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We can see that PS5 Pro is close to doubling the power of PlayStation 5. Another way to compare the two consoles is to look at PS5 Pro versus Performance mode on PS5, both of which target 60 frames per second. What we see here is a difference in detail. PS5 Pro is much sharper and crisper than PS5.
Dude, this is just my opinion, mind you. To me, that's not that significant of a leap, though. I don't know. It just feels like this is coming off very much like how the PS4 to PS4 Pro was, where PS4 Pro was like a slight improvement overall. In retrospect, because I own a PS4 Pro to this day. I was one of those people that got it back when it came out, thinking, okay, yeah, it felt, at the time, it wasn't priced the same as this, obviously, and it felt a bit more worth it to upgrade with the price being what it was. Especially, we didn't feel like it was, you know, aggressive or Sony being arrogant like they are now. But in retrospect, it was basically a slight improvement. And this kind of comes off being the same way. Like, this is what we're getting.
For this, my favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet & Clank. Distant details are much clearer.
Dude. What are we doing here? What are we doing? This is, yeah, like what people have been saying online. Like, this is diminishing returns.
And here we can see Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution throughout the scene, including the trees and procedural cars. So overall, some remarkable improvement to the games. On PS5 Pro, we can see increased sharpness to the graphics or smoother and more responsive gameplay. This is the big three showing their value. As you've been seeing, machine learning via the PSSR library is being used quite broadly to add pixel detail and boost frame rate. But there are as many approaches as there are game engines. The increase in raw GPU power is being especially effective for Horizon Forbidden West. Apart from the detail boost,
yeah, it looks nice. It looks good.
Improvements to lighting and visual effects.
Once again, not that much of a big leap, in my opinion.
As well
in terms of visual quality and visual presentation and fidelity and all that.
Open up, guys. Jor's orders.
Good enough for me.
Ray tracing is finding broad usage as well, particularly when the games are focused on higher frame rates.
Oh, my thoughts on ray tracing.
PS5 Pro can make a real difference. Allowing Gran Turismo 7 to add
they're just showing
between the cars
games that have been out for a while already. Like, they're not showing any new games coming out soon, either later this year or even into next year, that are utilizing
allowing
new
not only for
technology,
better
this new
reflections and a
console.
greater
Like,
variety of
why?
reflective surfaces,
That is
but
such
also for
a
further
misfire,
realism
in my
the
opinion.
casting of shadows.
Like, what are you
I hope you've
doing?
enjoyed this run-through of the technology behind PlayStation 5 Pro. Simply put, it's the most powerful console we've ever built, and a worthy addition to the PS5 family. Let me wrap this up by giving you a quick look at a number of games running on the new console.
All right. I think Rebirth is in here. Assassin's Creed Shadows might be the only one that's in here that they might show a glimpse of running on it. Not a big fan of that design.
Don't let me hang it.
I mean, I've played these games on my PS5. I got a 4K TV. Like, this is not that much of a difference, I feel like. I'm literally watching this video in, 4K as well. Like, so. Assassin's Creed Shadows, that's still not, I don't know. This is not worth the price. It's not. I'm gonna get into why. Wow, they're still running games at 30. Well, there is that fidelity mode that they said, which is fidelity or performance, so. Yeah, they're just showing little clips and glimpses of stuff here. Oh God, dude. Yeah, that's where we're at. Wow. Vertical stand sold separately. Then I know the disk drive is sold separately. Like, oh boy. All right, let's dig into this. So, I don't want to take too much time on this video, but this is insane what they're doing here, and this is messed up. This is definitely arrogant Sony trying to exploit the consumers, the gamers. This is definitely not targeted towards the average consumer, the average person. This is definitely, tailored to the enthusiast, the hardcore fan base that's gonna get this. I feel like that sees value in getting this, as well as content creators like myself, right? But even I'm like, nah, I'm good. Heck, I'll wait till the PS6. But this also makes me concerned for the PS6, because if they're gonna charge $700 USD and then have it be all digital, have to buy a disc drive, have to buy the stand separately, and treat those as accessories at this point, apparently, then the PS6 is probably gonna be $700 or $800 base. Like, this is ridiculous for a console price. This is not a PC. Why are you charging this much? Well, I know why. In all honesty, corporate greed, exploiting the consumer. Sony doesn't really have a true rival anymore. Xbox is becoming more and more of a big third-party type of company in a sense, because they're putting their games more and more on PlayStation now, as well as Switch, and keep putting their stuff on their systems too and PC. But I mean, look what they're doing with their company and whatnot, and their excuse is just good for business, or it's just business basically. I mean, I hope one day Xbox can come back and be a true competitor on the level of Sony to put them in check, because there's nobody to put Sony in check other than us, the consumers. And I have been seeing online, on Twitter, and even my own Discord, a lot of people are pushing back. They're not for this. They already own a PS5. They're not upgrading to it. Or they got PCs, or this is driving them to get a PC instead. And there's the argument there of like, yeah, a gaming PC is normally going to cost more than this for the similar specs you want, similar performance you want out of it. But here's the thing though. A PC does a lot more than gaming. A PC you can do video editing on, you can print stuff off of, you can, create stuff through graphic design. as well as do ordinary stuff like watch YouTube videos and type up different documents, things like that. There's so much more value that justifies the price of like a $1,200 to $1,500 like PC. Has like a 40 series GPU in either an Intel or AMD CPU and like 1 to 2 terabytes SSD, you know, 16 gigs or 32 gigs of RAM, whatever have you. Like, there's a lot more that a PC can do overall than a gaming console can do. Like, we don't even have the ability, I think, to have custom themes and certain other features that older consoles had, like the PS3 and PS4 allowed us to do. That's gone, you know. And heck, I argue also on the other side though that this might be worth $700 only if this were able to make PS1, PS2, and PS3 and PS4 games fully backwards compatible. This might be worth the $700 if they did that. If Mark Cerny was like, if we lived in a universal world where Mark Cerny was like, hey, not only that, but this is going to be fully backwards compatible with all our previous games and gens, things like that. You can play your PS1 up to PS4 games on this PS5 Pro. Because if you think about it, PS3, the launch version of PS3, while overpriced at its time for $600, that original 60 gig PS3 was fully backwards compatible with PS1 and PS2. You can play 3 generations of PlayStation games. You can't do that with PS4. You can't do that with PS5. Like, at least in my opinion, I think that's justifiable if it were able to do that. You can't though. You got to instead spend on a disk drive that's $80, I believe, when I checked. And then also, if you don't have PS5 at all, this will appeal more to those that don't have PS5 at all, but you have to spend on disk drive, you got to spend on the vertical stand, and then PS Plus subscription, you know, if you're just getting essentials, like that's already what, $800, $900, maybe $1,000 right there, or close to it. And then if you're trying to get a game, you know, it doesn't make sense. I didn't try to at least soften the blow a little bit or make this a little bit more appealing by showcasing and like newer games that are coming out soon that run Star Wars Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yeah, but that was barely even showing up, but like first party related, at least something's coming up. This might have been better too if maybe they waited to show this after the state of play that's supposed to happen later this month, which could show some first party stuff that's coming out hopefully next year. And you know, running on the system, they may do that anyway, where they'll say like, oh, it's gonna be PS5 Pro enhanced or whatever. They might do that anyway too, but I feel like that's a misfire, that they missed opportunity where they could. It'll kind of help make it a bit more better, more appealing, but even still, I can't agree with this move. But they got the, you know, they got the lion's share of this industry right now. They're like, Nintendo's on its own island doing its own thing, doing whatever, and they're successful doing what they're doing. Xbox is not what it was. And Sony essentially is taking advantage of things, and it's messed up because we got global inflation that's happened. That's everything's more expensive than ever. And I get where Mark Cerny's coming from. He said that he has content creators, sorry, not content creators, but creators, and I think he means like devs that want to be able to, you know, create their games and their visual the games what he wants to from a visual standpoint and technical standpoint without too much of an issue. I get that, but at the same time, I think we're missing a ball here in terms of like, we need to first get down to where we can have, especially if you're a big budget company, not necessarily indie dev, but more so if you're like a big like AAA company, even maybe AA to an extent, we need to lock down to where we can have these games run at 1080p 60 or 1080p 120 FPS or even 140 without any freaking issues. All right, me personally, I am always going to be of the opinion of like, visuals are never the number one thing for me. It's more about how the game runs, performs overall, the gameplay, story as well too, but mostly like the gameplay, is it fun and does it run well? All right, we got Unreal Engine 5 that a lot of devs are taking advantage of, but that is not still good. That still has problems because it's not fully optimized for PC yet. And while it fixes some things, it has new issues and stuff like that. So I just, wow, dude. Wow, this is insane. I can't justify it. I don't recommend this if you already got a PS5 or if you even got a gaming PC that does similar or not better. Obviously, if you're a content creator, You're doing this full time. You got the money to spend. You're gonna, get it to cover it, things like that. Me personally, I'm not gonna worry about it. I don't give a shit. I got a PS5. I got a PC. I have more customization options on my PC anyway when it comes to like my settings and like that to make a game look better and stuff like that. I do a console anyway, and this is a console. It can only do so much. It doesn't do what a PC does at the end of the day. So this is very egregious. This is aggressive. This is just ridiculous. I don't know. I see that the fan base that's like sees value in this is like the hardcore fans, enthusiasts, and the content creators that want to cover it, which I understand. I'm not trying to, diss them any type of way, especially to the content creators on covers, because technically they're doing it as part of their job. That's just reality. And you got the other people, the majority of us, I think, that are just pushed back, are not going to get this. Is it still going to sell well? Yeah, I think it's still going to sell well regardless. I mean, heck, you probably got some places that already sold out of the freaking disk drive already, or other things related to this system. I would not be surprised if that's already happened. And I just, wow, this is crazy. This is so crazy. I honestly though, if you want to get it, that's your choice. That's your money. In my opinion, it's not worth it. And it makes me concerned for the PS6 pricing and features we'll get, because we feel like we're getting less in terms of actual value, even though this is doing a little bit better in terms of like some stuff. And ray tracing, oh my god, ray tracing to me is just fluff. Like I've tried ray tracing before. It doesn't really do anything for me. Like, it just feels like it's kind of fluff. It's like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. I literally have had PC games without ray tracing on look and run beautiful. Sometimes even if I've added mods, help with some of the visuals, things like that, to make them even look even more pretty if I wanted to. Even though visuals are not a big thing, but it does help with that if you got mods up on PC. I know not everybody has that or has access to a game PC to have mods or other things that can help them out, because there are a lot of people that are just console players only, and that's fine. But I don't think I can, in my right mind, recommend this to the average consumer. Don't, but it's up to you. Do what you want to do, I'm not going to worry about it. I don't even know if I'm going to get the PS6, because I'm not surprised, other than I may have to, just because I'm a full-time content creator, like a lot of these big content creators out here, even regardless of my channel size. Like, I may get the PS6 regardless, because of having to cover, games on that platform that are first party. But I'm definitely going more PC going forward overall, because that's what I mainly play is PC and PlayStation. Yeah. And I honestly don't see why other people won't go more PC now because of this either. I've seen it online and YouTube comments and other videos. I've seen it on Twitter that this is driving a lot of people to go PC over PlayStation. And the fact that Sony's console, PS5 itself, has been declining in sales. Like, they're still selling, but the sales will decline. I don't know. They may still decline. They may not. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And if we are going to, want to see change for Sony to try and change their tune a bit, we got to push back more. Simple as that.